is a regular season award, the MVP.
There we go.
The MVP.
Load it up.
Ah, man. Now this one was really what gave me the most consternation. And I will be honest with you. I went back and forth all weekend. I talked myself into all three guys, talked myself out of all three guys. Here's what I landed on.
The NBA MVP, the league's most coveted award. Every season, many fans and analysts take part in debates around this topic. In general, this specific topic is discussed at the end of the NBA season when we already have a general idea of who could win it all.
Will allow me to educate you because I don't.
But what if I told you I already knew which NBA player would take home the 2024 MVP before the season even started? Well, I would be lying. But if we use hundreds of statistics and machine learning, we can get a general idea of what player or group of players could actually receive this coveted award even before the season begins. So without further ado, let's get into it. About a year ago, I stumbled upon this article on the Medium by a data scientist called TheJK, who oddly enough inspired me to pursue these data diving endeavors. In this article, he talks about using data and a machine learning model in order to accurately predict not just last season's MVP, but the last 5. He actually managed to predict every MVP from 2018 to 2022 correctly. And in his recent 2023 MVP prediction article, the results were so close between Jokic and Embiid that in my opinion, it should have been the actual results of the contest. Because most of us fans can agree that Jokic had a better season than Embiid. He led his team to a 1 seed, dominated every single statistical category, and won the NBA championship this season. Overall, he should have been 6 for 6 on this MVP prediction streak. Amazing. For full details of his process, I left his links in the description. But the JK's model was used for predictions right when the season ended, and we are trying to predict who will win this thing before the season even starts. So this could be tough. However, from reading his article, this got me thinking, and I realized that players that generally win the MVP that season almost win it or have performed well in past MVP contests. This is something that I'm not sure was taken into account. So with that, I calculated stats that measured the total amount of MVP shares that players accumulated in the past season, past 3 seasons, and past 5 seasons. And for those of you wondering what the heck MVP share is, it's simply the amount of MVP points that player receives that season divided by the maximum number of MVP points that can possibly be received. Now with all that out of the way, let's get into a brief overview of how our model will work. The overall objective for our machine learning model is to predict the amount of MVP shares that player will receive at the end of next season by using all of these given statistics. Yeah, this is a lot of damn stats, so we should be covered here. For training the model, I did 2 different approaches. First was seeing how well does this model predict past MVPs correctly, and secondly, what is the model's most up-to-date prediction when using all of our data. So with that said, here's the back-testing results of our model when predicting the last 10 NBA MVPs. As you can see from the predicted ranking, predicting the actual single player to win the next season MVP award is quite difficult and uncertain at only 24%. Basically, 16 different players have a good chance each season. But by looking at the MVP frequency chart, we can see that out of the last 10 seasons, the predicted MVP has appeared in the top 3 70% of the time. And 80% when looking at the top 5. We might actually have a good chance of pulling this off. Let's now take a look at all of our different results for this season and what Vegas predicts as well, since they are the best in the world at predicting events. As you can see, Vegas and I have different but similar results. My model believes it's Jokic or Embiid, and Vegas believes it's Jokic or Giannis. Looking at all these projections can get confusing, so let's see which players show up in all 3 projections. And those 10 players that show up in all 3 are Joel Embiid, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Luka, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Damian Lillard. Our 16 plus players now have just been narrowed to 10. Now 10 is quite a bit of players to choose from still, But I just remembered, since the NBA has imposed a new minimum games requirement of 65 games to qualify for these awards, we can use this to help us here. This is a major factor to consider, so let's take a look at the total amount of regular season games each of these players have played in the last 10 seasons. Now, let's average them. Whoa, SGA, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler average below 65 games a season, with Joel Embiid dreadfully only averaging 56 games. Sadly put, these 4 players are now cut off our list. We are now left with these 6 true contending players: Giannis, Jokic, Tatum, LeBron, Luka, and Damian Lillard. Interesting. This once again shows LeBron's undying greatness, as he has just frozen time and still remains to be one of the most dominant players in the game, despite being his 20th season. But with that being said, we are still left with 6 players here and 4 important projections to consider. A final way we can come to a conclusion for this is by adding the rankings of where each of these players rank in each of these data projections and calculate it into a percentage. Because as we know, a true MVP would need to perform well across all statistical models. Damian Lillard finished with just a 10% chance to win the contest, showing that Lillard may be a long shot here. LeBron James, on the other hand, finished with an 8% chance to win the MVP, showing that these 2 players are probably unsafe picks to win it all. Now Luka Doncic finished with a 13% chance to win the MVP, while Jason Tatum actually outshines Luka here with an impressive 18% chance to win next year's MVP. Tatum might be onto something here. But there's 2 players left here that are clearly destined for next season's MVP. Giannis and Jokic finished with a percentage of 20 and above. There's already a 51% chance that it's either Giannis or Jokic walking away with the MVP again for the 3rd time, and a 70% chance that it's Giannis, Jokic, or Jason Tatum. But if I had to pick just one player to win it all next season, just one, it would be Jokic. I mean, the man has literally broken basketball, and all the numbers believe this man is destined to win his 3rd MVP in the 2024 season. Not to mention, Jokic actually has a supportive narrative this time around. Since he won the title last season, the voters will now have to give him his props of not just being a stat patter.
Sitting here and saying, Nikola Jokic is having his numbers padded? Is that what you're saying?
You heard what the hell I said.
But that's the thing about using numbers. Numbers can't take into account the surrounding narratives that can drastically change the outcome of the voting. We've seen this in the past, with Embiid last season, Derrick Rose in 2011, Steve Nash in 2006, etc. In the end, there are just too many variables in this world to completely quantify. So this prediction could be totally wrong. This is just something to think about. With all that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.